What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Love After Lockup Season 5, Episode 40, Exes and Oh No's. And this is also the season finale. So let's get started with Troy and Zariah. So they are still in Buffalo, New York, because remember, they had driven to Buffalo with Troy's mother for Troy to be able to see his daughter and to meet the rest of his family, or to reunite with the rest of his family. So everything with the family went really well. The reunion with his siblings went really well. And so here comes Yana and Troy's little girl, Troy. She's also named Troy. So his daughter shows up with Yana, and when he sees his daughter and when his daughter sees him, of course, they're really happy to see each other. He goes up to her, he gives her the biggest hug, he picks her up, and Zariah was sitting on one of the lawn chairs, right? And her back was towards, I guess, the entrance into the backyard. So when the daughter and Yana came in, her back was facing them. So when Troy was reuniting with his daughter, I thought at that moment, I thought as soon as the little girl came in, I thought that Zariah would have gotten up to greet them and would have attempted to greet Yana. But no, she just continued to sit in her seat and didn't turn around, didn't get up or anything. And to me, that was just a little bit, it was odd that she didn't bother to turn around, that she didn't bother to get up to meet the little girl as soon as she came into the backyard. So he reunites with his daughter. It's really, really sweet. And Troy introduces his daughter to Zariah, and he tells his daughter that Zariah is the only other person that has the same last name as her, other than him. So he tells his daughter, he says to her, your mom was really giving me a hard time. So Zariah is the only other person that has the same last name as you and the same last name as Troy. And I'm just like, what are you, like, why are you telling your daughter something like that? Why are you saying something that kind of comes off as negative about her mom? To say to her, your mom was giving me a hard time. So, I gave Zariah my last name. I think he was trying to imply, I don't know what he was talking about, but I think he was implying that he wanted to marry her mother. He wanted to marry Yana, but she didn't want to get married or something, so she can never take on his last name. I don't know what Troy was saying, but whatever it was, it didn't sound great. It sounded like, he was being negative towards Yana. So they talk about how much Zariah has been looking forward to meeting Troy, the little girl, and, how she can't wait for them to have a relationship, and they're going to go out and do all of these, girly things like getting their nails done, shopping, etc. And Troy tells his daughter, you can call her Z or Miss Z or whatever. She's really excited that you're going to be a part of our family. So they're trying to really paint this really positive picture about Zariah. And the little girl, she took it all in stride. What is she going to do? She's just a child. So she just took it all in stride. Troy even told his daughter, give Miss Z or give Zariah a hug. And the little girl gave her a hug. So the whole entire time, Zariah is ignoring Yana, and Yana is just awkwardly standing, in the background of this scene. So Yana tells Karen, Troy's mother, that she had told her daughter that the little girl, she told her daughter, you don't have to talk to Zariah, you don't have to get along with her, you don't even have to like her. And I was like, how can you tell a child to not get along with her father's wife? I mean, to me, that was just like, you're poisoning this child's mind against her own stepmother. However, the situation happened between Troy and Zariah, that's their business. You can't change anything. Zariah is here. They are married, and she's here to stay. So you know that the little girl is going to want to spend time with her father, and you don't want things to be awkward between your child and her stepmother. And it will be hella awkward if you're telling your child you don't have to, you don't have to talk to her if you don't want to, and you don't got to like her if you don't want. No, you need to encourage her to try to get along with her stepmother and vice versa. Be on your best behavior, be polite, be civil. You don't have to call her mom, which I think Troy already told his daughter that you don't have to call her mom. No, Zariah said that, I think. You don't have to call me mom. You can just call me Z or Zariah or whatever. So the little girl doesn't have to go overboard with it. She doesn't have to lay it on too thick, but just be polite and be civil. And then if the relationship grows, great. And if the relationship doesn't grow, great, but just always be polite and be civil. So for her mom to say such negative things about Zariah and telling her kid, you don't got to talk to her, you don't got to like her, I thought that that was just 100% wrong. So Yana and Troy have a conversation at the front of the house because Yana's about to leave. And so Troy we find out was her first everything, her first love, her first real relationship. And obviously, they have a kid together. So her and Troy really do have a history. Now, Yana's a really cute girl. She's a really cute girl. And Karen, Troy's mom, even said that Yana came to like turn some heads, meaning Troy's head, the way she was dressed. And I was like, okay, she's not dressed any special kind of way. I mean, obviously she got her hair done, she had her makeup done, but she really wasn't dressed, overly provocative or overly sexy or anything like that. She had on like a bustier and it looked like some sweatpants or something. So she did look pretty. She looked really, really pretty. So I guess in her everyday life, she's not this done up, but it was enough for Karen to notice that she put some effort in her appearance. And according to Miss Karen, she was trying to catch her son's eye. Who knows? So they're having a conversation in the front of the house, and Troy is asking Yana, how are we going to co-parent? And Yana was like, I don't know, because you live in Syracuse and we're here in Buffalo. And so Troy has suggested, over the summer, she can come stay with us, like 1 week with me and 1 week with you during the summer vacation. And Yana was like, oh, hell no. I'm not going to leave my child around Zariah. That's not going to happen because you don't know her. Y'all got married or whatever while you were still locked up. This is the first time that y'all have seen each other in person, and you don't even really know her. So I'm not letting my child anywhere near her. The only reason why I let her be around her now is because your family's here. But back in where are they from? Back in Syracuse, no, I'm not sending my daughter there. So she cut that off. And so Troy really didn't say nothing about it. So when he goes back to the party, Zariah asked him, how did it go or what were y'all talking about? And Troy tells her, yeah, I was asking her about, Troy staying with us. And she was like, hell no. And so Zariah feels like that Troy needs to have more of a backbone around Yana. And of course, Troy is trying to tread lightly around Yana because Yana to me seems like the kind of girl that if she's not happy about something or she's upset about something, she'll probably keep the child from him. So he's trying to tread real lightly with her. He doesn't really want to rock the boat with Yana because he still wants to maintain a relationship with this baby girl. So that's why I felt like he couldn't go too hard on Yana and be like, oh, that's my daughter too, and she better come see me, and I'm gonna come get her if you don't let me, and all that, back and forth stuff. So Yana also had an issue with Zariah because during the time that Troy was locked up, Zariah was not making an effort to try to get to know her or her daughter before Troy was released. And I think that Yana did make a good point because you're marrying this man who has a child, and you should have made more of an effort, to start a relationship with the little girl, and also in turn start a relationship or build a relationship with Yana. I don't know why there has to be this tension between them. I don't, Yana, Troy has moved on. I'm assuming Yana has moved on as well. I'm not understanding why there's like tension between the two women, but they need to cut it. They need to get along because it seems like Troy and Zariah want to stick together for a little while longer. Who knows for exactly how long, but for a little while longer, they want to stay together. So, and he wants to have a relationship with his daughter. So these two women are going to have to get it together and get along. Now, the way that it ended with them, since this is the season finale, they're planning a wedding for sure, and we will see the rest of their story on Life After Lockup. So if you're interested in the story of Zariah and Troy, check out Life After Lockup, which begins next Sunday. Next Friday. Moving on to let's talk about Kim and Joey. I thought this was kind of interesting and weird. So Joey is waiting to meet his ex-wife, right? Not his ex-wife, his ex. He's at the basketball court, unbeknownst to Kim, and he wants to meet his ex-girlfriend there because, the ex-girlfriend had reconnected with him through WhatsApp or through social media, and he wants to let her know that he is not available and he wants to put closure on that relationship. Why he has to meet her in person, I don't know. Why don't you just send her a text and say, I'm with someone, I don't, we shouldn't be talking anymore. Just cut her off cold turkey. But he feels like he has to meet her up in person. I believe he wants to meet her up in person to see if there's still an attraction there, to see if there's still a spark there. That's why I think he wanted to meet her up in person. So he's waiting and waiting and waiting. The woman stood him up. Okay, she made him feel like boo boo the damn fool because she didn't even show up. The girl didn't even show up. She was like, screw this. I ain't got the time. So I'm pretty sure he was upset about that because he was waiting for her, thinking that she was going to show up. And so now that he couldn't see his ex, he goes back home to Kim, and all of a sudden now he's like, the engagement party's back on. Now he wants to be involved with the engagement party. Because when he was on his way to see his ex, him and Kim got into an argument because she found out that the ex had reached out to Joey and they were communicating. So Joey got upset with Kim and he stormed off. And before he drove off, he told her, hey, I don't want, you can do the whole engagement party on your own. I don't care about the engagement party. I won't be there. Have fun. Now that the ex stood him up, now he's crawling back with his tail in between his legs, crawling back to Kim. Well, if you still want to go to the engagement party, I guess I'll go too. So it's party time. So they're at the venue, and her cousin, who used to date Joey back in high school, like 20 years prior, her cousin was invited, and her cousin does show up. So the cousin shows up, and as soon as she sees Kim and Joey together, the cousin starts to get really emotional and she starts to cry, or she's trying to hold back tears. And so they're looking at her like, what the hell is your problem? And she says that she does not like seeing Joey and Kim together. She says, I don't like it at all. This is really hard for me. And then she pulls Kim to the side and she tells Kim, let's go sit down and talk because I've got something to tell you. And so I'm like on pins and needles now. I'm like, what the hell does she have to tell Kim about Joey? I'm thinking, she's going to tell Joey, she's going to tell Kim that, me and Joey hooked up recently, or he hooked up with somebody else. I got the proof. Here are the text messages. Here are the pictures. Or that she was going to tell Kim, Joey reached out to me and, he asked me out. Or I was like waiting for this bomb to go off, right? So she sits Kim down. She's really emotional. She can barely get her words out. And I'm like, what the hell does this woman have to tell Kim about Joey at her engagement party? Y'all, she tells Kim, was I pulled up to the building, Joey was there and he whistled at me. Okay, you sure he whistled? He wasn't like wheezing because he vapes like it's nobody's business. It wasn't like him wheezing, or you sure he whistled? So Kim looks at her like, okay, and then? And what else happened? And that was it. Joey whistled at her. And so she's like, I don't think that this is going to work out with you and Joey. Once a cheater, always a cheater, blah, 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 because the man whistled at her. Now, the friends that she had walked in with vouched for her. And they were like, yes, we heard it. He whistled. He whistled at her. We heard it. It was really, really disturbing for us to hear him whistle at her. Oh, I forgot to tell y'all. Not only did he whistle, but according to the cousin, he whistled like, looking good. So Kim is thoroughly confused. So she asks, so the cousin couldn't even say after that. She was so distraught. Okay, she was so broken up. She was so like, in her feelings. She couldn't even continue with the party. She had to leave. Okay, she had to make it like an emergency exit and she had to go home because she was completely falling apart over Joey whistling at her or wheezing at her, however you want to look at it. So Kim asks Joey, my cousin just told me that when she came up to the building, you were whistling at her. And he kind of just brushed it off. Like he was like, okay, whatever. She's just upset that I'm not with her because I was her first love. I took her virginity. I was her first everything. And so she's seeing us together and she's just really upset that me and you are not together, that me and her are not together. So, girl, just forget about it. So he's like really brushes it off like no big deal. So I understand that Joey, to me, he's an F boy. Okay, I think he's an F boy. I think he's gonna not be very good for Kim. I think Joey has to work on himself. I think he has a lot of things that he needs to work on. But the fact that the cousin said that he whistled at her, I don't like whatever. Um, Whatever, because I mean, he could have been like, they have a history. They used to date in high school. Like he said that, he was her first everything. So there were feelings there. So maybe he did whistle at her and he was like, yeah, you're looking really good. Haven't seen you in so long. You're looking great. Okay, fine. But Kim, I know you're going to end up staying with Joey regardless, but still, I don't think that's not what would aggravate me. What would aggravate me is that there were more scenes with them apart because he was always driving off somewhere than there were scenes of them together. That's what would aggravate me. I don't think he's that invested in this relationship. For him to be so flippant about the engagement party and be like, oh, I'm not even going to show up because he's going to go meet up with his ex, telling her, I'm not even going to come to the party. You know, you go ahead and you have a good time without me. Those kind of things. And the fact that he's so, loosey goosey with the money. He spends money like it's nobody's business because it's not his own money. And the fact that he's using her financially, that's what would bother me. Not the fact that he whistled at a cousin that he used to date and have a relationship with. I'm not encouraging that. I'm not justifying the whistle, but like, girl, the way you are hyperventilating and crying and acting like, you're going to choke on your words and you're about to pass out, you were doing the most. You were doing the absolute most with the least. Moving on to Shonta and True. Oh, by the way, their story is going to continue also on Life After Lockup. Shonta and True. So they arrive at Peppa's house, which is a friend of True, and that is where he's going to be doing his house arrest. So Shonta drops him off there, and she wants to know, like, who is this Pepper girl? And True tells her she's just a family friend. She's my sister-in-law's best friend or whatever the hell. And so True introduces Shonta to Peppa, and they sit down and they're talking. And Shonta asks True, are you going to be allowed to have visitors while you are on house arrest? And Peppa says, I don't care if he's allowed to or not. There will be no visitors in my house. I can barely stand having him in here, but I'm here to help out a friend, and that's it. Ain't no visitors going to be coming in and out of my damn house. So Shonta felt better about that. So later on, Shonta and True are saying goodbye, and they're kissing, being all lovey-dovey, and they decide to get back together. So Shonta decides to give him another shot. So the next time that we see Shonta, she's driving to the house that True is staying at, and she's upset. She's talking to her homegirl on the phone, and she's telling her friend that she found out that True was cheating on her, had cheated on her. So something about, I don't know if this was when they were supposed to be driving to the hotel together on their way to Cape Girardeau, and he had, he took a detour and he met up with some chick when he, stopped by somewhere while Shonta was still on her way to the hotel. He took a detour to go meet up with somebody. And so I don't know if that's the girl that she's referring to, or if it's another girl. No one True could have been a whole nother girl. And so she's telling her best friend that while she was in her car, I think when they were going to the hotel, I don't know. When she was in her car, True had left his Bluetooth on, connected in her car. So she heard this entire conversation between True and this other chick. So clearly he was cheating on her. So she's venting to her friend. And so she gets to the damn house, and her friend tells her, you need to be strong. Get this man out of your life. You don't need this, because to tell you the truth, girl, I'm sick and tired of you talking about True. So she gets to the house. She drops off his clothes because she had his clothes like in a plastic shopping bag. She hands him his clothes. She goes back downstairs, gets in her car, but she doesn't drive off. No, my girl, if you're really done with him because he cheated, you would have driven off. But she's still there sitting in her car, pretty sure waiting for him to come out. And he comes out and he's talking to her from the upstairs balcony. And he's like, what's going on? How come you're not talking to me? And she says, True, you cheated. I found out that you cheated on me. He denied it, of course. So they're going back and forth, back and forth. And he tells her, well, if you walk away or if you drive off, that's it. That's letting me know that you're done with this relationship, that you're done with me. And don't come back crying to me later talking about, I'm sorry, True. I didn't mean to do that, True. So if you are True, if you are serious about driving off, drive off and don't look back and don't call me because it's over. So he's putting all the blame on her for the relationship ending, right? Not the fact that he cheated, but the fact that she's not willing to stick around and put up with this mess. And so she's like, well, I didn't do nothing wrong to you. I didn't do nothing wrong to you. You're the one that messed up on me. So they're arguing back and forth. So then the producers ask him, did you cheat on her? Were you talking to this other girl? And True says no. But then later on in his confessional, when they bring it up again, he admits that he did cheat on Shonta, but he would not elaborate. And we will never know because we're not going to see them on Life After Lockup. Unfortunately, they lost their twins, but I think Shonta ended up getting pregnant by him again and had a child with him. I think it was a baby boy with him, I think, but the baby was born like really premature. I don't know what's going on with her uterus and whatever's growing in or out of her uterus. I have no idea if they have a kid, if they don't have a kid. The whole story to me is so blurry. I don't know what's going on. But I don't know. It looked like they were still together after the filming of the show. And I heard that they're not coming back because they broke their NDA. And maybe that's the reason why they're not coming back. But you would think that out of all the couples on Love After Lockup, True and Shonta would definitely come back for Life After Lockup because they were like the most dramatic couple. But I don't think they are coming back. And either they didn't want to or they broke their NDA because they're all over social media talking about everything. They're responding to bloggers and vloggers. They are clapping back at everybody. They're doing lives. It's like they're out there. The whole business is out there. So I'm not sure exactly why they wouldn't come back. I think that they should, but we won't be seeing them again. At least not on Life After Lockup. So I don't know what's going on there. Let's hurry up and get this over with, y'all. Let's talk about Christine and Julian. So it is open mic night. Because remember, Christine wants to start this career as a stand-up comic. And she's never performed in front of a crowd, but her whole entire life, people have told her that she's funny, that she should be a comedian, etc. So this is her very first open mic night. So she's up there. Julian shows up for support and she's up there and she starts to do her bit. And to me, it was more so like storytelling than telling jokes. Like she was just talking about her experience about being a bank robber and what's life like in prison and life of a criminal. And it was like it was very anecdotal. Like she's just telling a story and there might be some funny parts in it, but it wasn't like hard-hitting comedy. And the crowd was lackluster. You could see that the people were like distracted. They were having their own conversations. Some of them were looking at her and paying attention, some of them weren't. And she had a heckler. So this heckler kept on shouting things during her routine, and it was throwing her off her game completely. She got really distracted by this heckler. And it didn't help the fact that nobody was really laughing. The times when she thought that she had dropped a punchline, it was nothing but crickets. Nobody laughed. Everybody was just staring at her. So the heckler kept on going and going, and finally, she forgot. She just froze. She completely froze, and she actually said in front of the crowd, "Y'all, I completely forgot the rest of my routine. I forgot what I was going to say." And so she's just now stuck like a deer in headlights on that stage with the spotlight on her. Now, because of the fact that she's messing up and someone's heckling her, now everybody's paying attention. All eyes were on her now. But when she was doing her jokes or doing her stories, nobody was paying attention. Now that she got caught in this really embarrassing situation where she forgot her routine, she's being heckled, everybody saw what they were doing and they were just like, all these eyeballs were on her. So she ran off the stage. She was too embarrassed. So she ran off the stage and she runs into the bathroom. Julian follows her there. She's trying to take off her mic and she's just like, "I'm done with this." And her friends are trying to encourage her, her fake friends are trying to encourage her to like, they're like, "Oh, no, 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 you're doing great. No, she's not. She bombed. She's not doing great. She bombed. Don't encourage her to get back on that damn stage." So Julian decides, okay, let's just go. So they leave. And the next day, she feels a little bit better. So she's going to try again at some later point. And, this is what it takes. I'm pretty sure every single stand-up comic had a night like this, right? This is nothing unusual. It doesn't mean that she's horrible. It doesn't mean that she's not made out for comedy. I don't know if she is or if she isn't. We need to see more of her to determine that. But I'm pretty sure all the greats, Seinfeld, Bill Cosby, Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor, all the greats probably stumbled just like this, and they probably are still stumbling. So yeah, you just kind of have to hone your craft, keep getting back up, try and try again, practice and all of this other stuff, and maybe she'll be better. I think that it's unique. She's coming from a very unique perspective. An ex-felon who used to rob banks, a female who, when you look at her, you would never think that she was a damn bank robber. So she's got that whole thing going for her, right? So if she just kind of works on it, and maybe, I don't know, takes advice from a seasoned comedian, she might do okay. But I guess maybe not, because her and Julian are out there robbing Walmarts. So Julian hopes that he does get a job soon. So at the ending of the season, or at the end of filming, he still was unemployed, and she is still doing stand up. And I don't think that they're going to be on Life After Lockup. I don't think they are, but I'm not 100% sure. So let's talk about Daniel and Bianca. So Daniel finally came out. Unfortunately, this is the only time that we see Daniel on Love After Lockup. So he comes out of prison and everybody's really happy to see him. Bianca's there, his cousins are there, his parents are there. And Bianca tells us that she really wishes that the family was not there, that it was just her waiting for Daniel. I mean, she sounds like, I don't want to say it, but she really reminds me of like an abuser, because an abuser wants to isolate their partner away from everybody else because they don't want you to have that support system. They don't want anybody to infiltrate you or try to talk you into leaving the abuser. So it's like her whole thing of always wanting him to herself and not wanting anybody else around. I mean, it's coming off kind of creepy. I don't think she's gonna like physically hurt him, but it's like there's some type of like an emotional or psychological thing that she's trying to do. Whenever she talks about how she doesn't want him around his family. Okay, girl, fine. So uh, he finally is out after 5 whole years, and he talks to us about how he fell into addiction because his father was an addict, and when his father became an addict, it really ruined the family. And so he picked up a lot of traits from his dad, unfortunately, and some of those traits was, the whole addiction thing. So he tells us that he had asked Bianca to marry him when he was in prison because he didn't want to lose her. So all the pictures that she was sending him, she looked really attractive. And he probably felt like, he hit the jackpot with her. She was attractive, she was really into him. And she talked about this life where she was, talking about accomplishing her dreams and her goals and doing all these great things in life. And so he was really drawn to her. He didn't want to lose her. So he asked her to marry him. But now that he's out and real life is happening now, he's beginning to have some regrets about asking her to marry him so soon, because when they were alone in the car, she immediately started talking about, getting married and having kids, and he just came out. Like, he's been out a good 10 minutes and already she's like, yeah, we're going to get married, we're going to have children, da, da. And it was just too much for him. So he kind of regretted asking her to marry him so damn soon. So Daniel was supposed to go stay at a halfway house, but Bianca got this apartment that she's already paid the rent for 4 months, and they want to be together. So he calls his parole officer, asks his parole officer, "Can I stay with my fiance instead of the halfway house?" And it seemed like the parole officer was willing to work with them. So they go to the restaurant to eat with his family, and Bianca's pissed about that. She's upset that they have to have dinner with his damn family. Like, wouldn't you be happy that your fiance, soon to be husband, has such great support and love from his family? I don't understand why she's like so angry that his family want to show him love and want to support him. And he's accepting that. It really pissed her off. So they're sitting there having dinner. And the conversation leads to Bianca's drinking because the mom is scared to death that Daniel is going to relapse and going to end up like his brother, because his brother passed away from overdosing or something. So the mother is so worried about this because she knows that this is not a good match for her son, because this girl does not want to give up her drinking, and Daniel has a problem with alcohol. So Bianca's like, yeah, there's going to be times when I go out with my friends and we're going to have brunch and I'm going to have mimosas and I'm going to come home drunk, but I'm not going to be driving. And so I'm pretty sure everybody's listening to this like, they're like, oh my God, this is horrible. This is not good for Daniel. So the mom starts crying because she's scared to death for her son, and she's really worried about his sobriety. And if he's going to have a girlfriend or a fiance like Bianca, he needs his family. He needs his family as close to him as possible. So she's still sticking to her guns about the fact that she's going to continue to drink, and having Daniel home is not going to change that. So we're going to see the rest of their damn story on Life After Lockup. That's going to be quite interesting. I think that my prediction will be that Bianca's going to be just way too much for him. She's going to be way too much for him. And Daniel, probably out of all, except for Arthur, out of all the men on this show, I think Daniel is the one that needs to be alone the most. He needs to be far and away from a relationship as possible, because it's in his family. His father was an addict. His brother was an addict. He does not need to be worried about planning a damn wedding and having babies. He needs to take care of himself. So out of all the people on this show, I think Daniel and Arthur, they're the ones that need to work on themselves the absolute most. Let's talk about Hope and Arthur. So they're leaving the family dinner. The grandfather, before they left, Hope's grandfather pulled Arthur to the side and asked him in private, "Are you a gang member?" And Arthur said no. And so I don't know what that was about. So after that, Hope and Arthur, they leave. And as they're walking away, they're walking to their car. Arthur confronts Hope about, hey, when your family was grilling me, talking about how I can't provide for you, I can't support you, I'm going to be living off of you. Why didn't you stand up for me? And she was like, because it was your turn in the hot seat. Before you showed up, my family was grilling me. Okay, so I already went through it. So it was your turn in the hot seat. And I knew that you could handle yourself. So then they talk about their future, how they're in it for the long haul, and they're looking forward to getting married. And then we see that after filming, Arthur got arrested back in May, and he is sitting in jail awaiting trial. And I don't think they're together anymore. I don't think they're no longer together. So that was a really sad ending because Arthur kept saying over and over and over and over again that he will never go back to prison. He told his mom, he told Hope, he told her family, I will never go back to prison. And that's exactly, well, he's not in prison, but he got arrested again and he's awaiting trial. So who knows what the future holds. Maybe he'll not have to serve time. Maybe he'll plea, or he'll get a not guilty. I don't know. I don't know what he got arrested for, what's going on there, but maybe it's all going to work out. I don't know. Or maybe he'll end up in prison. This is the reason why he didn't need to be in a relationship, because maybe he felt the pressure of supporting Hope, and maybe that made him go out and do something that he shouldn't have done. So moving on to Letitia. So at the very end of it all, they talk about Letitia, and Letitia got arrested. I think they said for theft. I read online that it was for the PPP loans. I don't know, but she's facing 5 years, and so that story didn't end well. And I don't think that we're going to be seeing her on Life After Lockup. So yeah, that is the end of my review. Thank you so much. I know it's kind of like all over the place here. I did the best I could with what they gave me. And yeah, I hope that you will stay tuned for Life After Lockup, and I hope that you'll come back and join me every Friday night for a quick review of Life After Lockup. Thank you so much. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video, and I will definitely talk to you later. Bye.